Right now, somewhere in the world, a supermarket is playing a song at exactly 58 beats per minute. Not because someone likes it, because a 9-week study proved that this tempo makes shopper walk 70% slower and spend 38% more. And here's what really got me. In one experiment, we will get to the details later, scientists manipulated what people bought using nothing but a playlist. When they asked shoppers afterwards, only 6 out of 44 even suspected the music had anything to do with their choice. 38 people bought something they didn't plan to because of a sound they didn't hear. This is not a conspiracy theory. Honestly, I wish it were. That would be easier to dismiss. This is a billion-dollar industry called sensory branding. They're a company, real company, public traded, whose entire job is to design a playlist that change every hour, based on who in the store, based on what time it is, based on what they want you to feel. Today, we are going to reverse engineer exactly how this works, every frequency, every tempo trick, every volume hack. And by the end of this, I am not exaggerating, you will never walk into a store the same way again. It started on factory floors, mid-20th century. A company called Music figured out something unusual. When you pipe slow melodic instrumental through a workspace, people get tired less, they produce more. The original idea was productivity, not sales. But retail noticed something else. During lunch breaks, workers were buying more in the company store under the same music. And that's when the machine shifted. Music stopped being about efficiency. It became about spending. Fast forward to today, music is dead. What replaced it is a company called Mood Media, and honestly, they make music look like a toy. The psychologist profiles the shoppers in the store using a framework called Pickup Mood, 4 emotional quadrants, and the playlist shifts throughout the day. Mornings, when retirees shop, it's softer, slower, familiar. Evenings, when young professionals show up, the tempo goes up, the genres get trendier. And this goes way beyond shopping. There's a reason a tomato juice is a single one popular drink on airplanes, and it has absolutely nothing to do with taste. We will get to that. Their own data says 75% of shoppers stay longer when they like the music. The right playlist bumps sales by 9.1%. Dessert orders in restaurants up 15.6%. So the question isn't whether music affects you. The question is, how deep does the control actually go? 1982. A marketing professor named Ronald Milliman ran what became maybe the most cited experiment in retail psychology. 9 weeks, 1 supermarket, 1 variable, the tempo of the background music. Some days he played slow tracks, below 60 beats per minute. Other days, fast, above 94. Everything else stayed the same. Prices, layout, stuff. Just the beat changed. And the results were honestly kind of insulting. On slow music days, people move through the aisles 70% slower. That part makes sense, right? You hear a slow song, you slow down. But here's the kicker. Sales went up by 38.2%. 38%. Not because the products changed, not because there were discounts, because people walked slower, which meant more time staring at shelves, which meant more impulse buys. Things they walk in with zero intention of purchasing. And Milliman didn't stop at supermarkets. 4 years later, restaurants, slow just in a fine dining place, people lingered, ordered extra wine, dessert, the check went up. Flip the script. Loud, fast music in a burger joint. People ate faster. More bites per minute. Tables turned over quicker. Same principle. Different in-game. Fine dining wants you to stay. Fast wants you gone. So tempo is one lever, but there's another one that's maybe even sneakier, genre. In 1993, researchers Areni and Kim set up a wine section in a store and alternated the background music between classical and top 40 pop. Same wines, same prices, same shelf placement. When classical music played, Vivaldi, Mozart, that sort of thing. Shoppers didn't buy more bottles, they bought more expensive bottles. And the mechanism is almost embarrassingly simple. Classical music carries cultural weight, sophistication, luxury. Your brain hears it and it quietly raises your internal price threshold. You feel like you are where expensive things belong. So you reach for the $40 bottle instead of the $8 one. Not because you taste it, because Vivaldi told you subconsciously you deserved it. But here's the thing, in 2025, scientists ran the biggest experiment ever on background music, 140 stores, and the results, they were complicated. We will come back to that. Tempo subtle, genres clever, but volume? Volume is brute force. In 2008, a French psychologist named Nicolas Guégan walked into bars, literally, and cranked the speakers. Some nights 72 decibels. Normal conversation level. Other nights 88 decibels. Someone between a lawnmower and a motorcycle. At 72 decibels, people took about 14.5 minutes per beer. Ordered 2.6 drinks per visit. At 88 decibels, 11.5 minutes beer, 3.4 drinks. That's a 20% bump in drinking speed. 20%. Kagan had two theories for why. One, the aerial hypothesis. Loud sound jacks up your nervous system. Everything speeds up, including how fast you swallow. 2, and this one stuck with me. When it's too loud to talk, you drink, because what else are you gonna to do with your hands? Okay, this is where it gets genuinely weird. Charlie Spence, Cross-Modal Research Lab, Oxford University. This guy has spent years proving something that sounds like science fiction. Music can physically change how food tastes. High-pitched piano make chocolate taste sweeter without adding a single gram of sugar. And remember that tomato juice thing I mentioned? Here's the payoff. Inside an airplane cabin, the engine noise sits at about 80 to 100 decibels, constant, inescapable. Spence found that this kind of broadband noise suppresses your perception of sweetness and saltiness, just flattens them, but at least one flavor untouched. Actually, it makes it stronger. Umami, the fifth taste. And tomato juice, it's one of the richest umami sources you can drink. So it's not that people suddenly crave tomato juice at 35,000 feet. Is that tomato juice is one of the only things that still tastes like anything up there. Adrian Nord, another researcher, took this even further. He showed that background music can shift how people describe wine by over 37%. The same wine, same glass, different playlist, and suddenly it's powerful instead of mellow. And now that experiment I promised, Adrian Nord, 1999. He set up a display with French and German wines. Same price, same dryness, same shelf. On days when French accordion music played, French wines outsold German ones 5 to 1. On days with German Umper bands, German wines won. But here is the part that keep me up at night. After the purchase, researchers asked people, did the music influence their choice? Out of 44 shoppers, 6 said maybe. Other 38, they had no idea. They constructed entirely rational explanations for why they picked that bottle. The music was invisible. So at this point you are probably thinking, okay, we are all puppets, game over, but not exactly. In 2025, a team of researchers ran the largest field experiment on background music tempo ever conducted, and 140 stores, one major retail chain in the Netherlands. And the results? For the general shopping population, the effect of tempo on total revenue was basically nothing. Three reasons. 1. Modern shoppers show up with the list. They're task oriented, in and out. Background music barely registers. 2. We have had 40 years of constant retail soundtracks. Our brain just adapted. Habituation. The manipulation lost its edge because it became normal. But, and this is the twist, there was one group where all tricks worked perfectly. Loyalty card members. People who shop at the same store regularly, who browse without a rigid list, who are in explore mode. They still slow down, they still spend more. The music still had them. So let's be honest, calling this mind control is a stretch. Music can't make a vegetarian buy a steak, it can't override who are you, but it can make you pick more expensive vegetables. It can make you drink faster without noticing. It can make French wine taste right on Tuesday without any reason. Behavioral economists have a word for this, a nudge. You don't force someone's hand. You just redesign the room so the right choice feels obvious. And that's exactly what the music does. It doesn't pop to you, it tilts the floor. And you slide, thinking it was your idea the whole time. And the fact that you never noticed it was there, that's the whole point. But sound is just only one frequency. In this video, I break down another invisible weapon, the one they built in the floor plan itself.